Hello and welcome to another CITV episode, our 66th. As we did with the last episode, we decided to present the happenings with the Delray Beach Townhouse project in chronological order of events. As we did last time out, we are going to film segments as they happen on the day they happened and present them to you in chronological order. Therefore, by the end of this episode, you will be current with all the information concerning this project and any other news from Centennial Investments. Now, the frustration with development services at Delray Beach continues, as you will see in the segment after next. But we hope to have encouraging news at the end of this episode. There is nothing terribly wrong, it's just the frustration of how long this whole process is taking Delray Beach City. And once we unglue ourselves from this present position, we will be flying. So let's begin this episode with a small win, the erecting of the perimeter fence. I found out last week while I was in London that at least we got one thing approved by Delray Beach Building Department, and that was a permit to erect a chain link fence around the perimeter of the property. Nearly 500 feet of fence now protects our property from trespassers, including any homeless folk who may try and make camp inside the burned out building, which is unlikely but not impossible. And of course, if anybody trips and falls in our property, given the litigious nature of our society, we could end up being sued. Now, the cost to erect this fence was $6,000, but we don't own it. Just on rent until July of 2023. By then, we won't need it anyway. We can also, if we choose, place advertisements along the fence line which can be woven into the fabric that covers the fence. However, as we have 2 units already reserved with only one remaining, the significant benefit would be to the external agents to promote themselves, show the remaining centre unit, and to advertise for land deals on Centennial Investments' behalf that we might want to acquire. It's really incredible how something so simple can make you momentarily so excited. Ridiculous. Anyway, onwards and upwards. So, after a week of waiting around, after numerous calls and emails to Raquel Falcone, who distributes and collates all the comments to the City TAC team, Adrian Grandison, the lead architect at Ames International Architecture, received back the city's comments. Disappointingly, and quite frankly, I was surprised there was any, but they came back frustratingly with 3 overhanging items. Most are relatively quick to answer and execute, but we don't want to or can't afford to wait another month while development services gather their committee to consider our answers to their mind-numbing comments yet again. So we need to get these comments just received, answered and returned to the TAC committee ASAP. I am hoping that this third and hopefully final round of comments to our replies will be our last, and later on in this presentation will have been dispensed with, and as we've said on many occasions, allow us to carry on with the development, which is now unfortunately 6 months behind schedule, thanks to the infamous City Building Department that is rapidly gathering a reputation for being almost impossible to deal with. So, what are these 3 overhanging comments that development services are referring to? Firstly, let's deal with the most difficult of the 3, which is the infamous sea grape tree. The city landscaper, Jae-yoon Kim, sent a dissertation to TAC and Centennial Investments on how we should interpret city code or ordinance. Now, for the sake of not sending you guys to sleep, I shall boil it down to layman's terms. When the owner of 406, the first townhome on the east side of the property, exits out of their driveway, there must be a clear line of sight both ways, looking up and down the alley to see oncoming traffic. All of us involved in this development agree that this is an essential element, but the reality is that there is complete visibility looking both ways down the alley with the newly pruned tree. However, this city ordinance is open to interpretation that Miss Kim, the city landscaper, who is playing by the book, wants us to adhere to. So, what is the resolve? There are two options, both of which will cost us money. The first is to remove the tree completely, and as the base of the trunk is now clearly visible after pruning, we need to establish how the city wants us to measure this tree. This is something that Adrian asked Miss Kim, but she was severely unhelpful and repeatedly told Adrian to refer back to our landscape architect for the answers. Great, I'm glad she's there to serve. Here is the confusion. At the base of the trunk, two trees are growing from it. The base of the tree is 72 caliper inches, which I calculate would be approximately $72,000 that we would have to pay into the Delray Beach Replacement Tree Fund, or whatever it's called. More than we originally estimated, and of course a financial whipping. Or do we take the measurement at 4 feet from the ground, which I believe the city ordinance asked for, and measure just one of the tree trunks? Or do we measure both and add them together? If just one, then the smaller tree measures 41 caliper inches and the other 50 caliper inches. Either way, with a minimum payment going to the tree fund of $41,000, it's a no-brainer to move this scrappy, scraggy tree that dogs think twice before cocking their leg up to another acceptable location, one where the city will be happy with the line of sight from the property's eastern driveway. The clarification will be determined by Peter Coyle, our landscape architect, but unfortunately he is away until the 18th of May, a couple of days from now. Moving the tree will cost around $7,000 plus any public highway road repairs after removing the root system from the centre of the alley. As I said previously, there may be a danger that we would pay $2,500 to prune the tree, which we've already done, and that still would not be acceptable to the city, and therefore that cost has to be added to both possible remedies. Additionally, the city also wants us to put whatever we decide within the red site triangles on the site plan, which means we also must represent our choice on both the civil and landscaping plans. Both are costly and time-consuming exercises. Now, the second comment is much easier to explain. This comment refers to the property setback from the property boundary line, which I described in detail in the last CITV episode. As we expected, in line with other properties in the surrounding vicinity, we have been granted a 25-foot setback from the property line, and of course, and quite rightly, the city want this represented on the site, civil and landscaping plans. The third and final comment is purely a money grab by Development Services at Delray Beach. Obviously, that's my bitter and twisted interpretation of them wanting $1,375 the next time we resubmit our responses to tax comments. By the way, just above item 24 seeking more money from us is a fire department's comment that needs us to confirm that we will match all the sprinkler safety requirements requested by the fire department. And we have to send them fire sprinkler plans, which of course we have on hand. Now, considering how we let the fire department play with our building on the land, I was shocked that they chimed in with a comment. All it does is chew up time and resource. I just got off the telephone with Peter Coyle, our landscape architect, who is rushing to answer and satisfy the comments of Jae-Yoon Kim, the TAC committee landscape planner, and he's having a really difficult time of it. The problem is that every time we submit our answers to the city questions, excuse the thunder in the background here, and in particular the landscaping department, they came back with fresh new comments. So we ask ourselves, why didn't they ask these in the first place? Why bring them into play now? Just wasting everybody's time, mainly ours. When Peter Coyle submitted to the TAC committee extensive calculations of all the trees and shrubs, that will be planted or left as is on the developed site, the city told him that was not necessary. So in his second submission, he provided a simple table of calculations, which now Miss Kim says she is not fully understanding, and for Peter to provide itemised and detailed calculations of how many and the percentage to each species of each tree and shrub that's going to be on the property after it's developed. This is sheer and utter madness. So Peter has put a call into Miss Kim to ask her exactly what she's looking for, because for sure she doesn't know herself. Now, I did not report this to you guys as an outstanding issue in previous CITV episodes, as I thought this was dealt with, as did all our team. So this fresh new comment on the TAC report I missed. As I've just told you, Peter is now dealing with this. Now the sea grape tree. The decision was a no-brainer, and Peter has moved it 10 feet northwest, as shown here on the plan, to bring it within the site triangles that the city landscaper insists on. And without making this too complicated for you folks, more than 6 feet away from the nearest curb sidewalk. Please don't ask me to explain this. The only thing holding this process up is the city landscaper, and we are beating her up daily to try and get to the conclusion that we so desperately need. I will bring you up to date over the next few days. So Peter Cole, our landscape architect, after coming back from vacation 3 days ago, pulled out all the stops to address the comments from the SPRAB committee, or TAC committee at Development Services, or whatever they call themselves, who are making our lives difficult and very miserable indeed. I won't bore you with the minutiae detail, but Peter has addressed each one of their 11 new comments, all related to landscaping, except the fire department's request for us to comply with the fire sprinkler code. I am sure they'll find something else, but let me update you where we are right now. Peter changed the landscaping plans to reflect the fishtail palm height will be increased to meet the city requirements. But here is the latest kicker. The city want us to enter into a landscape maintenance agreement that will need to be approved and recorded prior to the city giving us permit approval. This maintenance agreement has even got to include the trees outside our property line on the street. Now, I'm going to take a flyer here. When we resubmit the updated plans with the city's comments, which Peter has addressed, I will resubmit without a maintenance agreement in place, as this will take a couple of weeks to get ready. So my rationale is that I can submit the landscape maintenance agreement as soon as I have one in place. I don't want to hold up the process on all the other issues. I will get to work on this on Tuesday the 31st, as it's impossible to get hold of anyone today, as it's the long weekend for Memorial Day. Now, in response to the city's request for detailed specifications of all the trees which we are moving or planting, Miss Kim, the city's landscape planner, insists they should be a minimum 16 feet from the soil line to the tip of the highest fully expanded palm leaf at the time of planting. Now, this graphic should help you with your understanding. Miss Kim, employing the strictest of adherence to the ordinance, wants a minimum 6 foot of single straight trunk, meaning from the ground to the first palm leaf, with a minimum of 8 feet of clear trunk. This is from the soil line to the top of the third or fourth highest expanded palm leaf. On top of this, Miss Kim asked for a 7 foot spread of canopy, as per 4.6.16 in parentheses E of the landscape design standards. Peter has updated the landscaping plans by tree species and included plant specifications and the planting schedule, something Miss Kim said we did not need at one time. Also, we have to demonstrate that the tree species we have chosen does not compromise the overhead utilities, again something the city requested, which we are going to show on the plans. Peter revised the sidewalk layout to match our civil plans and appeased Miss Kim, and labelled all the different species of plants individually one by one. Peter also provided itemised calculations by height and thickness of each plant, shrub and tree. Apart from maintaining the street trees, we also, because of the constraints put on us by the landscape planner, have to move the street trees, something which we were not expecting to do. This is now reflected in our updated landscape plans. The city requested irrigation plans, which they have already received prior, but seem to have mislaid, forgotten that they had them, or just can't find them. Anyway, we are sending them in again when we resubmit on Tuesday, hopefully. Finally, please forgive me if I cry here. They want our arborist Lisa Hammer to confirm by amending her original letter sent to the city via Peter Cole that accompanied her survey to read that no tree greater than 4 foot caliper inches at DBH, diameter breast height, was omitted from her report. I contacted Lisa by email today to see if she could help us out here, and thank God she can. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is today's update. We are getting there, but oh boy, this is a pig of a journey. Anyway, Alan, our GC, cheered me up by telling me once again that we can make up chunks of time once we get the site permit approval. So we plan to resubmit on Tuesday or Wednesday at the latest, and of course I will let you know how that goes. And so the madness continues. But I have a solution, I think. There is a menage a trois of confusion, and I don't mean in the romantic sense, between the Delray Beach City landscape planner, our landscape architect, and our civil engineer. Here is the predicament. We get the comments back from the city's landscape planner, Miss Kim, asking us to comply with her new remarks. Our landscape architect, Peter Coyle, draws up revised plans in compliance and then sends them back over to John Haley, our civil engineer. John then says, you can't put plants and trees there because it goes over a sewage manifold, waste water pipe, catch basin, or any number of immovable objects critical to the building's grounds engineering. So our civil engineer John tries to comply with the new landscape design, but there is simply not enough room or practicality in his updated civil design to help Peter, our landscaper at KWD, to pacify Miss Kim at the city. So John, our civil engineer, does his best and resubmits back to our architect lead Adrian Granderson. He puts together the new plans and answers the comments as best as possible to the SPRAB committee in his resubmittal. Miss Kim is not happy. She sends the landscaping plans back to our architect Adrian Granderson with even more comments, usually around compliance issues. Adrian, our architect, then sends over the new comments to KWD, our landscape architect, and once again we go into the same cycle as before with no way out, or so it seems. So on this next resubmittal, tomorrow, Friday, yes, another week has slipped by, and therefore I am going to call for a meeting with the city. This cannot continue. The problem, it seems, as I have been told, is that everyone at the city is practically new. Everyone is Jobsworth. Nobody is willing to do anything other than play by the book. No common sense employed, no compromise, and no matter that every developer is running around Delray with their heads in their hands in frustration, I need and want a resolution now. Well, good morning and hello from a very steamy South Florida. I'm pleased to let you know that on Monday, albeit 2 days or actually 3 days later than I anticipated, that we submitted to SPRAB at Delray Beach City the replies to their comments and concerns from their last round of reviews. We asked at the same time if we could convene a meeting. I was hoping that it would be in person, but apparently the only meetings that the city do these days is virtual, so I have to accept that. And we found out late last night that they've convened a meeting for Monday the 20th of June at 10 a.m. in the morning, and they have asked all the relevant departments of SPRAB to get together to take that meeting. By the same token, we've asked our people, such as Peter Cole at KWD and John Haley at Haley Engineering, if they could make themselves available. I'm still waiting to see if that happens. I'm sure that it will. These guys have been really great and helpful to us, and so I've asked Adrian Granson, our lead architect, if he thinks it's appropriate whether I can video the meeting on Monday, which will give you guys some idea at nuts and bolts level what is going on. Now, the thing is, I appreciate that every one of these segments is about basically the landscaping primarily and the rest of the SPRAB committee comments, and that in an effort not to make this so boring, I'm not going to go in future into too much detail as I have done before, and therefore I will just give you more of a glossary. Of course, the meeting will be an exception. So I look forward to speaking to you guys in the next few days, hopefully after the SPRAB committee meeting, which I'm hopeful that you guys will listen. So I'll see you then. Technically, disaster struck this morning for me as the scheduled meeting with the Centennial Investments team and the city of Delray Beach. My audio decided to go on the fritz and I was not going to be able to hear what was taking place. After what seemed like a lifetime, we turned the meeting into a telephone conference, and I have some of that recording for you right now. Knowing you don't want to hear the whole meeting, like that would be torturous, so here are some salient points. Now, I believe the following is the most crucial part of this or any other video we have ever produced, and particularly if you are an investor, you should listen to it. Even as a casual observer, it's worth watching as to the insight of the inner workings of Delray Beach city planners. So, let's begin. Unfortunately, Miss Kim, the city's senior landscape planner, did not have a chance to review the landscape plan sent in with the resubmittal. But in any event, Peter Coyle opened up the meeting with his comments.
Okay, I'll just, I think we've addressed the comments to the best of our ability and, provided, cleaned up different calculation tables and things like that. I think the only issue, and it's something that we wanted to discuss today, was the possible conflicts of utility easements and some of the perimeter plantings that are being identified as foundation plantings and are essentially required for privacy around on the sides of the property. There's I think a 10-foot general utility easement around the perimeter, and which is essentially our only place to plant, or our only landscape planting areas on those areas of the property. So I think that was something we wanted to discuss.
Miss Kim asked Peter if he was having a problem with the tree mitigation.
The question is, are you removing the trees that was required, or because of the conflict?
It's the only place we have to put trees which are required, so that's the problem.
Miss Kim explained to Peter that the city could not give direct advice on how to comply with the code.
At this point, the city will not be able to give you directions of what to do and how you need to comply with that.
However, Miss Kim was helpful in suggesting that we might want to apply for a waiver.
The only option is that you can apply for the waiver or obtain the relief, some sort of,
Okay.
about the one code section from another code section, because if you can't comply, you can comply.
Mm-hmm. So we've shown the utilities and we've avoided or removed direct conflicts, like you mentioned, planting on top of a utility. We've removed those conflicts. It's just the presence of this easement and it also being the only place to put these plants. So that was, I guess, so there's the waiver that we would need to submit, I suppose, along with the application or submittal.
I took the opportunity to throw myself at the mercy of the city by asking if they could help us out.
I would like to demo the house that's on that property just to get started. Now, the problem that I've had is that to get a demo permit, we need to replat. We couldn't replat because we couldn't get landscaping approval. If there's any way that the city can help me, the neighbours complaining about the house, it's just turning into a somewhat of a nightmare for me. And just even if I can just get a jump on the process because, it's been so long, is there any way that the city can help me out with trying to get this demo permit through addressing some of the process, regarding replatting and everything else?
Rachel Falcone from Planning and Zoning Division was very accommodating, if not, in my humble opinion, very factual.
Sure. I can definitely confirm the process with you, but I think you can proceed with the demolition permit just for the house, but you cannot touch the landscaping, like the trees on the property. But I'll confirm after this meeting. I just would like to confirm with my supervisor the process and send you an email.
I've been down this route before, so I mentioned this to Raquel. Or is it Rachel? I don't know.
Well, I'm led to believe that to get a demo, I've got to replat. So I need the approval for the replatting, which has already been submitted a million years ago, and then just to get a demo permit, and then at least the neighbours can see that I'm doing something. I'm not, running away from anything. Obviously not.
I don't know if you necessarily need the plat approved to demo the house.
Way back when, about two submittals ago, that was part of the why I couldn't get it. I actually read it in your comment. So I just need a little comment to say, hey, listen, we'll help you out here because you're suffering. But, and all the other points we're going to take care of in due course anyway. I just need some help so I start demoing.
Sure. Okay. Alrighty. I'll definitely get back with you here after this meeting. Okay.
That's fabulous. I really appreciate the city's help and your help in this. Thank you.
Emboldened by the progress of the conversation, I threw myself further onto the bosom of the city, and then I heard the words City Commission.
Once we've addressed all the comments satisfactorily to the city's requirements, is there any way that we could just say, right, okay, done, finished, go, here's approval? I'm sorry to be so brash with what I'm saying, is that I'm really starting to hurt here. I just need to get going on this project.
Yeah, well, here's the process. So once all the comments are addressed, it can go to the Site Plan Review and Appearance Board for review and approval through that board. So you guys are nearing the end. We'll just have to address the waiver for landscaping, and then we'll take it from there. But you're pretty close, so we'll get you through.
That's fantastic, Roger. But the trouble is that board sits every month. That means if I don't get my timings right, then I could be 4 weeks away, and every 4 weeks is a lot of money for me.
Right. Yeah, I can't give you any definite answers right now, but let me just figure out the waiver issue and how that will be approved. I don't know if this specific waiver will have to go to SPRAB or City Commission. So I'll have to get back with you and your team on some answers.
To Miss Kim's credit, she offered some very good advice to both myself and Raquel Falcone in trying to avoid the lengthy process of going through a City Commission process. Here is what Miss Kim had to say.
One thing you have to be very, very careful with that. This city process is very unique to this type of a process. If that is a part of a mitigation requirements, that trees, that plants, that palms, whatever is a part of a mitigation, that's not the SPRAB review. That's you have to take it to the commission. So that process is going to be lengthy because like your client says, the time is money right now. Going through the commission, that's going to be a lot of more time to waiting for this project gets approved. And oftentimes you have to go waiver commission first before you take it to the SPRAB. And that's very common practice throughout the different cities. They do not like to giving you approval for the site plan prior to you got your waiver approval.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I mean, obviously, from a developer's point of view, I want to go the least lengthiest route.
I needed to get some clarification for all our understanding, so I put it to Miss Falcone that If we did not lose any trees or plants, could we not go through the simplified SPRAB route?
I think that it's just the landscaping that is really the issue here.
Right. So you'll need to determine if you are proposing to remove some trees due to the utility easement and you can't meet the requirement, then that's where the waiver will come in. But we can take a look at that.
So what you're saying is if we're not losing trees and we're accommodating it, or even though it's nearer on a utility, that's going to be a quicker route to go than removing trees. Am I right?
Well, it all comes down, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jan, it all comes down to the tree mitigation. And if you are removing trees that need to be replaced and you can't accommodate them, then that would go the waiver route to City Commission, right?
Correct.
Peter Coyle, our landscape architect, reiterated that we are going to meet the city's requirements for the foundation plantings, and John Haley, our civil engineer, reasoned why we don't need to go through the City Commission route, or route, as I used to say in England.
Really, what we're trying to do is meet the requirements for the foundation plantings on a multi-family project.
Okay. Then I think that would just be the waiver towards SPRAB.
Okay.
Yeah.
We want to avoid any city commission meetings right at this point.
Okay.
I can't afford a city commission meeting on any issues. So
Okay.
please direct us on how to do that.
Well, it sounds like the waiver that you'd be requesting is to go to SPRAB, so they have the purview to approve waivers if that needs.
Miss Kim, and I'm seriously starting to warm towards her now, put forward a scenario where we don't need either a SPRAB or a horrific City Commission meeting if we meet all the city requirements.
You may not even need a spread. We may be able to move around palms and trees to meet the intent of the code. Then you don't even need a waiver because that's another application to process. And another thing that you have to present to the board and selling it. If the question is the board buys it or not. The best shot is not asking for the relief, not asking for the waiver. It's exactly what the code is asking. You present exactly what you comply with that. And that's the best way. So I'm hoping you do not have to asking some sort of a waiver request. But again, so let us look at the plan first and then we'll go from there, please.
So I asked the million-dollar question. When can we expect approval? Horrifyingly, Miss Falcone says, we may not be able to get a meeting with SPRAB until August. But once again, Miss Kim stepped in and said, well, you can hear what she said. And she's going to work with Raquel Falcone and get things wrapped up by next SPRAB meeting on July the 27th. Another month, I know, and I understand, but better than August. In the meantime, I will see if I can get a concession for the demo.
Can I ask you what the timing is from now?
Go to SPRAB?
Yeah, to get approval. Do you reckon the timing could...
I mean, it really just depends the shape of your plans right now. So, we'll be doing our review within the next 2 weeks. And then, and so, I mean, it probably the earliest we can get you is the August meeting for SPRAB.
Nothing earlier than that, no?
Fortunately not. We have our meetings once a month at the moment. So, that's probably the earliest that we can get you on there.
Yeah. Going to kill me.
Okay.
Rachel, can I speak with you that one schedule on, separately, you and I?
Yeah.
Okay. Because if it's the landscape is the only one right now needs to be addressed, all the other, if that's the only field that we are still pending for approval, I can work with Rachel and work around with the guys' schedule. So I'm going to talk with Rachel about, as I work for the July the spread meeting, which is going to be, looks like based on the calendar, it's the 27th. So we got...
That's fabulous.
So I will work with Rachel, and then, Rachel will come back with you. We can't overkill our staff, but Rachel can, Rachel and I.
I'll get back with you guys when I have a better understanding of, timeline, process, procedure, okay?
That's fantastic. Rachel, everybody, Ms. Kim, thank you very much. It's fabulous. Thank you for working with me, helping me out. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
In the spirit of honesty, this meeting was heavily edited to save you all the pain of listening to lots of gobbledygook and terminology, which all it would serve is to confuse everybody. Let me tell you, it sometimes confuses the bejeebers out of me. Anyway, I will give you an update on what transpired from this meeting in a few days. So I purposely held off from making a segment update, hoping that by now I would be in receipt of some positive news. So let me bring you current as of today, June the 28th. After meeting the city, as you all heard, hopefully, there was a glimpse of light whereby Jae-yoon Kim, the landscape planner at the city, said that she was going to help us get on the agenda for the July 27th SPRAB meeting by working with both Peter Cole at KWD and Adrian Grandison, our architect, to find a solution for that crappy, my words, not Miss Kim's, sea grape tree. Jae-yoon Kim said she was happy to leave the sea grape tree in situ as long as Patrick Figueroa, the city engineer, was happy. There was hope for optimism as Mr. Figueroa said he was happy with everything at the end of last week's meeting. But the tune changed as of this afternoon when I received an email from Peter Cole, our landscape architect, informing us that Jae-yoon Kim had asked us to submit plans with the sea grape tree moved, as it was too big to stay where it is. The fact of the matter is that the city already received the revised landscaping plans last week, together with our civil engineering plans with the sea grape tree already moved, and Peter Cole informed Jae-yoon Kim of that today via email and asked her to make sure that Rachel Falcone was aware that they received these plans. All the documents with answered questions to the city's comments together with updated plans need to be in the city by this afternoon to make the July 27th SPRAB meeting, which is when the city, or to be more precise, the SPRAB committee will sit down and collectively decide whether our current plans with the sea grape tree moved are acceptable and therefore give us site approval. It would have been rather nice to get away without moving the sea grape tree, but unfortunately this is not the case. It reminds me of when we first bought this land and I asked our architects if there was any problem with any of the plants and vegetation on the ground, including the tree, and was told that none of it would be a problem. Just as a statement, and I'm not blaming anybody, but I was just thinking of the irony of the fact that what was not going to be a problem became the biggest problem. In the meantime, I've asked Adrian Grandison, who is the project lead architect, to contact Rachel Falcone at the city, who said that she would try and get us through the demolition part of our project, which at this moment is hostage to the landscaping issue. I asked him to remind her of the demolition permit that's in with the city, and could she please help us push this through if possible. However, my faith in this happening in any sort of quick time is dampened by the fact that I phoned Miss Falcone a couple of days after our meeting when she said that she was going to find out if we could start the demo. But as I feared, she did not return my phone calls nor the several voice messages and emails from Adrian Grandison. You see, the simple truth is that all these people are government employees. And forgive me, but they don't give a shite about the commercial aspect of putting a project like this together. It's not their money, and they could care less about the financial strains and stresses of their non-actions. Funnily enough, the white knight in all of this is Jae-yoon Kim, so I will be eating humble pie over this for the next few months and sending her a thank you email. Tomorrow is the last day to summarise the past 2 months, and I will save my final comments for then. I hurriedly changed my wrap-up notes for this episode of CITV when Peter Cole of KWD, who you must know by now as our landscape architect, copied me in this morning on an email from Jae-yoon Kim, Delray Beach's city landscape planner, informing him that the relocation of the sea grape tree worked for the project. She then asked if he could email her with the updated plans and include some minor adjustments on a notation, a small detail Peter has addressed. I'm genuinely hopeful that this will cap, unless something dreadful happens, this current situation. And this whole thing will be put to bed by the next SPRAB meeting on July the 27th. I'm genuinely embarrassed and annoyed in equal measure that we have not obtained site approval for the Delray Townhome Project. It's not that we're no further forward, because that wouldn't be a true statement, but we frustratingly haven't obtained our end objective for this period. We have spent an extra $10,000 on professional fees, which was unnecessary if the Delray Beach Building Department employed a modicum of common sense. This being absent, we have to play the cards we are dealt. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say by the next episode we should be out of this situation, because I'm sure, like me, you're fed up of hearing that. But we are near the end of this chapter, and my team's resolve is, as always, firm and undoubtedly optimistic. We are still overseeing an immensely profitable development. We want to get it built. That's all. We have kept the two families, by the way, that reserved their townhomes entirely up to date, and they are totally supportive of our efforts and understanding of the slow progress. This slow slog through the Delray Beach City Building Department was undoubtedly not envisaged, and although I'm not, or we're not, the only recipients of this bureaucratic quagmire, as I've said on many previous occasions, I don't care about anyone else. I only care about our development. Irrespective of all this, we are still looking at other projects, perversely enough even in Delray, but I've decided that all our concentration and effort needs to be placed on getting site approval for this townhome project before we can think about buying other developments. The only statement I will make is that I feel that we are very close to getting site approval. I don't want to specify an exact date, but all the investors and I will look forward to when we can start building this project. In the meantime, I am looking forward to a well-earned 3-week break in Europe from the middle of July. But I can assure the investors I will be in daily contact with my project team, and I look forward to speaking to you all at the end of August or before with a renewed mojo and a suntan. Until then, enjoy the summer.